I was born in a family where architecture was quite common. For example, I grew up in a very nice house built in the 60s from a quite interesting architect, Swiss architect, who has lived 10 years in the States. So it was a very experimental house. My parents were both artists. My father was also very interested always very interested in architecture. So they built actually together that house, and it was a very sculptural house. In fact, it was also kind of an art piece in the end. And there was another aspect was this, that I had a grand uncle who was a very well-known architect in Switzerland in the 30s. So it was not to make a decision, it was more to find the self-confidence to have the courage to do it also, you know. It was quite present as a discipline. It's kind of a method to acquire knowledge. I think it's the best way to understand cultures. If you study houses, then you have the direct mirror of the daily life and of a society. So it's a wonderful thing to do. Actually, it involves everything of life. We are quite happy to do housing because, again, it is the most direct mirror of life, and it's actually a very philosophical thing to do. Because you have all these aspects of life to consider, you know, and you have, in the end, the aim is that people have a good life. We are very much interested in ideas of the client, and I think architecture has to fulfill also that aspect, that the client is happy after it. But it is a process, and the client always has to learn a lot of things, and sometimes it's a bit tiring to repeat again and again the same aspects. If you have a new client, you have to start again with the explanations, you know. But it's worth, and it's if you have good clients, and I think we are quite spoiled in that aspect, then it's a really interesting relationship. Everyone is influenced by his Heimat. I mean, but what means Heimat nowadays in times of globalization? And I think as a student you have to reflect very carefully where you are coming from, what's your resources, and where are your deficits, and you have to be able to see what's your personal interest, and to learn also that there are universal aspects which are always the same, but then there are aspects, for example the climate or atmosphere aspects, which are very regional. I think after the 60s, where the context has become more and more important, I think for everyone should it be a very important thing. And especially Frank Lloyd Wright said it once in a very nice term, that he says good architecture is like a developer you know, in the early times when you make the photos in the dark room, you have this chemistry and then the image comes. And I think it's a very nice view to see architecture. You have to have the ability to bring the landscape inside. That's very important, if there is one. And if not, then you have to look for other possibilities to make livable surrounding. I think in the last 10, 20 years it has become in a way too important. Everyone was focused on materials, on new materials. Every architect wanted to be the first one to use that material. And I think it's really important to focus first on space and on proportion of space and also on social aspects. And in a second row, it is absolutely important how do you use materials and also colors. Well, I think it's a very nice thing to do. Because you are forced to formulate your ideas, and in the beginning it's not easy. It's quite hard work if you take it really serious, and it's very enriching. It's really, for me, it's the best thing that could happen to us, that we had this 2 years at the ETH and now here in Berlin. I think it's really a privilege because you can deepen your interests. Everything can influence your work. If the student is brilliant and forces you with his intelligent ideas, of course. They are very different in their characters, and it's almost not to compare. Art, contemporary art especially, is very losgelöst. How do you say that in English? It's very free from functionalist Anforderungen, aspects. And architecture has to be always also functionalist, and you work a lot with restrictions. That's why I like architecture so much, because you are never in the empty room like artists. I know a lot of artists, and I think it's really hard to be an artist. It's the best thing you can do to live with fine architecture, because it enriches your life. I'm sure about that.